Hey everybody, welcome. All right, so today we're going to talk about a handy little gizmo that all guitarists take advantage of, right from beginners all the way up to professionals, okay? And this little gizmo is called the capo. Now, if you're not familiar with it, I know it's a funny looking thing, but basically it's a some sort of a spring-loaded device that allows us to replace this nut on the end of the guitar. Now, the nut signals the end of the fretboard, right? And keeps all the strings tight. Now, if we were to take that nut and move it up the fretboard, essentially what we're doing is we're shortening our strings, and thus we're playing a higher key, all right? So by putting, for example, this capo on fret number 2, and in music, 2 frets with the guitar is we're going up 1 key. So what we've done is we've moved this nut here, all right? Now, that means that if we are playing a C chord, it's actually coming out a D, right? Because C, 2 frets up, 1 whole key, is a D, right? And if we play a G, well, it's coming out an A, right? And if we play our D, it's coming out an E, right? So C, G, D becomes D, A, E. Same thing, hear it? D, A, E, C, G, D. It's just higher. Slightly higher, but it's the same thing. So why would we do that? Like what do we get out of this? Well, we get a couple of things out of it. So in no particular order, one of the things that we get out of it is it allows us to change the key of the song that we're playing. So we've Googled a song and we get the chords C, G, and D. But when we play those chords and then we start singing, we find that our voice is high. It's high, and this is too low for our voice. There's no synergy there. Or you could be playing guitar for a female singer or a male singer with a higher voice. So what you would do is you would have to change the key. So the singer might go, well, I like to sing in the key of E, all right? So, okay. But in the key of E, maybe one of those chords you don't know. Or maybe it's a bar chord and we don't want to play the bar chord. So what I would do is I would take my original chords, C, in the key of C, and I would, in this case, put a capo on 4 because the singer wants to be in E, right? So C up 2 frets would be a D, up 2 more frets would be an E. But as a guitar player, all I have to do is keep playing my C, G, D. Okay? So I'm really playing E, B, F, sharp, F sharp, okay? Because D to E is 1, and then E to 1 is F because there's no E sharp, and F sharp, right? So to put that in perspective, we would have to play C, right? In the key of C, we'd have to play D, open, no capo, D, right? E, F sharp, which is a bar chord, and we don't want to play bar chords. We don't know how to play bar chords. So I put a capo on 4, and I can play the original G, D. The singer's happy because I'm playing in the key of E, and I'm happy because I get to play 3 easy open chords that I know how to play. So we've sort of covered on both of the reasons we use a capo in sort of one example, right? So to take that further, we could go backwards and Google a song and it says, okay, it's C, G, and D, but you got to put a capo on 2 to play along with the recording. All right? So what they're telling us is that if we just play C, G, and D and put it up against the song or the record, it would sound sour. It wouldn't sound right because that song needs the capo on 2 to get a phonic match, right? So that we're all in the same tone and key, right? So if it didn't fit, we might go the other way. And we might say, okay, let's take the capo off and play the same chords open. C, G, D. So we're going the other way. We're making the song lower instead of using the capo to make it higher. All right? So we still get to play our C, G, and D. Okay? The other option is to, again, transpose in your head and go, okay, so I'm in C, but I need it to be lower. So I'm going to try the key of A or B. Well, right off the bat, B is a bar chord. We don't want to do that, okay? But you get my point, is that we can go up or down from anything. Like I know people that take every song they play and they find a way to use a capo somewhere on the fretboard to bring it all down to G, C, and D, because those are the chords that they know how to play, and those are the only chords they know how to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. But please understand that when you use a capo, the further away from the original song chord structure that you get, the more the song gets kind of distorted. So you may get to the point, if you were to put a capo on, say, 7, I mean, that's a very high sounding G, C, D, and we know now that it's not G, C, and D, but what I mean is the chord shapes that we're playing, you would not recognize that song if it was supposed to be played like this, right? So you have to be careful about that. I always find within a couple of frets, like a couple of keys either way, you might be okay. But after that, you run the risk of people not even realizing or recognizing the song that you're playing, okay? So once again, the main reason of the capo is to either avoid playing chords that we don't know or to match the tonal output of the chords to our or someone else's vocal range. Those are the two major things to sort of take into consideration, okay? Now, I'll give an example. One time I wanted to learn a U2 song. And when I looked it up, it was D, A, B minor, G. And I did not want to play that B minor. So what you have to do in this case is I have to go down 2, right? So the B minor would now be an A minor. And then if I put a capo on 2 and played that A minor, well, I'm back to my B minor. So the next chord that I wanted to deal with, or, there's 4 chords in the song, so we did that for one chord, we have to do it for all of them. So the next thing is, okay, so the next chord, or the other note or chord I want to replicate is a D. Well, a D, a capo on 2, I'd have to play a C. So I'd have to go down to C. So from D, I go down 2 to get my C, and then I put a capo on, which brings it back to the original D. So now I can play C, and it will sound like a D, right? I can play a G, and it will sound like the second chord in the open position, which is A, right? And then my B minor I've already replaced with an A minor, with a capo on 2. And the last one, instead of G, I would play F with a capo on 2 to bring it back up to the G. So listen. So here I have, there's my D, there's my A, there's my B minor, there's my G. Okay? But I played C, G, A minor, F with a capo on 2. So I did that to avoid playing the bar chord. So I can continue playing open chords that I know, but simulate the proper key of the song that I Googled with the bar chords, right? Because I'm using open chords with a capo to replicate the bar chord. So those are the two major reasons that you would use a capo, all right? I know it can be confusing. There are charts out there that you can get a hold of and download that says, look, if you're playing open and you want to know the chord on capo, they have the necessary chart to look it up real quick. You cut it out, you keep it in your guitar case. But once you get the idea of it and understand how the keys work and how your fretboard works, you won't need it. You just have to stop and do some basic math. So the last thing we can use a capo for is really this. It's the same idea, but if we're playing, there's 2 or 3 guitar players. Now you might notice this sometimes. You watch on TV and there's a band and or you're out in a club or something and there's 3 guitar players and they're playing a song and you watch the guitar players and all 3 of them are doing something different and you're thinking, well, one guy's playing here, one guy's playing bar chords, whatever. Wow. One guy might have a capo on and they're doing exactly that. So if one guy is playing that song we just talked about in its original open key, open position, would be D, right? A, B minor, G, D, A, B minor, G, right? The second guitar player might be you. You could put a capo on 2 and play C, because that's your D, right? We just went through all this. G, because that's your A minor, because that's your B minor, and F, because that's your G. And you will sound the same. And then the third guitar player, he might be playing bar chords, right? So he might be playing, D, right? A, B minor, and G. All 3 of you playing that way, you'll have the same sonic output. So everything will sound the same, even though you're playing good old comfortable open cowboy chords and the other poor guys are stuck playing the bar chord version, all right? So that's the use of a capo, all right? It's just to manipulate the key without changing the chords. And I know people that, to be honest, every single song that they learn, they find a way to use the capo. In some case, it could be, way up here. But they find a way to use the capo so that they can play the same 3 chords over and over again the whole night. G, C, D, A, E, D, D, A, G, G, A, D, or whatever. And, I mean, look, in my opinion, you're circumventing the whole process of music. But at the end of the day, if that's what works for you, and I've always said, if you don't go any further than learning 3 chords within the same key family, and you learn those chords to play those chords like really well and transition seamlessly, you can play all kinds of songs, right, using those chords. So who am I to say that's right or wrong? But ideally, you want to use the capo mostly to the benefit of the singer, whether it's you or someone else. And if you have to, you use a capo to avoid playing chords in a key that you're just not familiar with, because generally they're bar chords. Okay? All right, so I hope that helps. Absolutely leave any kind of comments or questions or suggestions for things that you'd like to know about. I'd be more than happy to see if I can help you out. Other than that, enjoy Mr. Capo, for he is your friend. Use him wisely, and we'll see you down the road. Happy practice.